All right, so you want to dive into the Ebonyi State 2025 approved budget?
Specifically the capital expenditures.
Yeah, those capital expenditures, huh? Well, you came to the right place because this budget document,
It's not messing around.
it's not just some numbers on a page. It's really detailed,
Oh, yeah.
outlining how the state government is going to be spending all its money,
Uh-huh.
even down to like specific projects, right?
Exactly.
Within each ministry.
Yeah, it's a lot of information.
It's like a roadmap, basically.
It's incredible the level of detail in this document.
So it's like we're going on a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
You'd be like, whoa.
Absolutely.
Before we get into the like spending spree,
Right.
can you kind of set the stage for us?
Sure.
What's going on in Ebonyi State?
Yeah, so Ebonyi State is in southeastern Nigeria. It's known for its agricultural strength, especially rice production.
Oh, okay.
But they've been trying to branch out economically.
Uh-huh. So it's not just about funding projects, but also understanding the bigger picture.
Exactly.
How does the state even get the money to do all this stuff?
Right, so this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Ebonyi relies heavily on federal allocations, mainly from the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, or FAC, and its share of the Value Added Tax, VAT.
So it's like their allowance from the federal government.
You could say that, yeah.
But that sounds risky.
Oh, yeah.
What if, like, the feds don't cough up the money?
Well, you're right to be concerned about that because one thing in this budget that really stands out is a big jump in what they're expecting from other FAC.
Other FAC?
Yeah.
What's other FAC?
It's a bit of a mixed bag.
Okay.
But we're talking a massive increase.
Okay.
They're expecting over 176.5 billion naira in 2025.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah, much more than in previous years.
Did they find oil or something?
Well, it's not quite that simple,
Okay.
but it is tied to the oil industry.
Hmm.
This increase comes from things like excess crude oil funds,
Okay.
exchange gain,
Uh-huh.
and there's a new category this year
What is it?
called State Infrastructure and Security Funding.
Whoa.
And that alone is projected to be 80 billion naira.
State infrastructure and security. That's super broad.
Yeah, it is a little vague.
Like, I'm picturing everything.
Yeah.
From roads to security cameras.
Right.
Isn't that a little concerning?
Yeah, I mean, the lack of detail around this new category does raise some questions.
Like, how do we even know
Yeah,
what they're doing with the money?
exactly. It's about accountability, right?
Yeah.
And transparency, making sure those funds are actually used effectively.
Right. And actually benefiting the people they're supposed to.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we got the revenue side, but now the fun part.
Let's get to the spending.
Let's talk about the spending.
Where are they planning to invest all this money?
Yeah, where are they going on a shopping spree?
So remember, we're not going to cover everything in the budget.
Of course.
We're focusing on the areas that are most interesting.
Right. Like the highlights.
Exactly, the highlights.
Okay, so what's the first highlight?
One area that jumps out is housing and community amenities.
Housing and community amenities. Okay.
I've seen a pretty big jump
Okay.
with an allocation of over 12.5 billion naira.
So what does that mean for, like, the average person living in Ebonyi State?
Well, that's a good question.
Right.
Are we going to see new affordable housing?
Yeah, or like,
Community centers popping up?
yeah.
The document's not exactly clear on that.
Interesting.
Most of that money is going towards housing development,
Okay.
but the specifics are surprisingly vague.
Uh-oh.
There's a 7.7 billion naira project simply labeled housing development.
So it's just like a mystery project.
Pretty much.
Like, we don't know what kind of housing, who it's for,
Exactly.
why such a big increase.
Right, and without those specifics, it's tough to say,
Yeah.
how effective this investment will really be.
Right. Is it actually addressing a need?
Yeah, or is it just,
A vaguely defined project?
potentially open to misuse?
Yeah. Okay, so we've got a mystery on our hands.
It seems like it.
All right, let's move on to the next highlight.
Okay, so another standout area is education.
Education. Okay, that's good.
Now, investing in education is always a good thing.
Of course.
But what's interesting here is the focus on infrastructure.
Okay.
They've allocated over 41 billion naira to adequate infrastructure at all levels.
That's a lot of money.
It is.
So are they building new schools?
Well, they're doing both.
Okay.
They're building new schools and renovating existing ones.
Oh, okay, both.
Yeah. The biggest chunk, a whopping 41 billion naira,
Ooh.
is going towards schools, infrastructure construction, and rehabilitation.
That sounds really promising.
It does.
Like, if they could pull this off,
Yeah.
it could be huge for education in the state.
Right.
But the key is the execution, right?
Of course.
Making sure everything's transparent.
Absolutely. Transparency in the tendering process, making sure the construction is high quality,
Right.
actually delivering on these promises.
Right. Big projects, big potential, but also like
Big responsibility.
Big responsibility, yeah. What's our last highlight?
Okay, this one might surprise you.
Okay.
Societal reorientation.
What?
Yeah, I know.
is that?
It's not your typical budget category.
I'm picturing public service announcements,
Uh-huh.
encouraging people to be more polite.
Laugh slightly, maybe. The budget doesn't give us much to go on. There's a 398 million naira allocation.
Okay.
But the project description is simply Societal Reorientation General.
Oh, so another mystery.
Yeah.
It's a little concerning though, right?
It is.
What are they actually doing?
Exactly. Without more information, it's hard to assess the value.
Yeah.
Or the potential impact.
Right. Is it connected to any other initiatives or policies?
That's what we need to find out. More information.
Okay, so we've got revenue, some spending areas. Before we dive into specific projects, I think we need to talk about a couple other financial things in this budget.
Absolutely. We can't ignore the World Bank Trust Fund loan and the BHCPF grant.
Okay, let's start with the loan. Why are they borrowing money?
They're taking on a 7.6 billion naira loan from the World Bank Trust Fund.
Okay.
For something called the Impact Program.
Impact Program, is that good or bad?
It's a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
Taking on debt can be a strategic move to fund important projects,
right.
But it also comes with risks, obviously.
Yeah, you're literally going into debt.
Right. So the key is in the details. How are they going to manage this loan?
Yeah.
What kind of returns are they expecting from the Impact Program?
So potential boon, potential burden?
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. What about this BHCPF grant?
Okay, so the BHCPF grant is interesting.
Okay.
It's from the federal government's Basic Healthcare Provision Fund.
Okay.
Specifically for primary healthcare.
Okay.
What's really unique about it is that it's funded by donations from federally owned companies.
Wait, what? So it's like companies donating to healthcare.
Exactly.
Is that normal?
It's pretty unusual.
Are they doing it out of the goodness of their hearts?
Maybe, but it also makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
About potential influence.
Right.
The motivations behind this kind of funding mechanism.
Okay, so some potential red flags to watch out for.
It's worth keeping an eye on.
All right, well, we've covered a lot of ground, but we're just getting started.
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole bunch of specific projects in this budget.
Tons.
Ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Let's see what we can find.
Okay, so we talked about revenue and some big spending areas.
Right, the highlights.
Now let's get to the details.
Let's dive in.
I want to hear about these specific projects.
Okay, well, let's go back to those other fact distributions.
The mysterious ones?
Yeah, there's one line item that's pretty interesting.
Okay.
A 43.6 billion naira allocation called a signature bonus.
Signature bonus? Was that like a signing bonus for an athlete or something?
Well, it's actually related to the oil industry.
Okay.
The government gets these bonuses from oil companies when they sign new contracts.
So like exploration contracts?
Yeah, or production contracts.
It's like a big upfront payment.
Exactly, a big chunk of cash.
So Ebonyi is really banking on oil.
It seems that way.
But isn't that kind of risky?
It can be.
What happens if oil prices go down?
That's the danger with relying on oil revenue.
Okay, well, let's move on to something that affects people more directly.
Right, like their everyday lives.
Exactly. What did you find in the ministry breakdowns?
Okay, well, the Ministry of Agriculture and Natural Resources has some interesting plans.
Like what?
They've allocated 50 million naira for construction of state fish farms at the 3 senatorial zones.
Fish farms, that's cool.
Yeah, it's part of their plan to boost food production.
So they don't have to rely on imports.
Right, improving food security.
And maybe create some jobs.
Exactly.
But fish farms, you need to know what you're doing.
Yeah, you need expertise and a good plan.
Would be successful?
Well, that depends on
what?
If they have the right expertise and the right land and a good management plan.
Fingers crossed.
Right.
Okay, what else is going on with food?
Well, they also have a project to establish a food bank.
Okay.
With a 10 million naira allocation.
So they're trying to help people who are struggling?
Yeah, addressing food insecurity.
That's really important.
It is.
But a food bank is just a temporary solution.
That's true.
It doesn't solve the root problem.
You're right.
Are they doing anything to address the underlying causes of food insecurity?
Well, that's the key question.
Are they investing in agriculture?
And addressing poverty and unemployment.
Okay, well, we can't talk about a state budget without talking about infrastructure.
Of course.
What's going on in the Ministry of Works?
Well, roads are a big focus.
Makes sense.
But there's one line item that I thought was interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Repair of heavy-duty machines used at different construction sites within the state.
So they're taking care of their equipment.
Exactly.
That's actually smart.
It is. It's like keeping your tools sharp.
So they can avoid delays and save money in the long run.
Right.
But let's talk about tourism. What's the Ministry of Culture and Tourism doing?
Well, they've allocated 1.5 billion naira to renovate the Ebonyi Hotel in Abakaliki.
A hotel renovation.
Yeah, they're trying to attract more visitors.
But is that really the best use of the money?
It's debatable.
Wouldn't it be better to invest in promoting their cultural attractions?
Or developing new tourism experiences.
Like what makes Ebonyi unique?
Right.
Okay, let's move on to healthcare. What's the Ministry of Health doing besides the BHCPF grant?
Well, they've allocated 5 billion naira